All right, let's dive into one of the most raw, honest, and just deeply human stories ever written, St. Augustine's Confessions. And look, this isn't some dusty old book. It's a journey into the human heart, and it all kicks off with one single, incredibly powerful idea. You see this sentence? This is it. This is the key to his entire story. It basically frames his whole life as this epic search to figure out a deep internal restlessness, that nagging feeling that something's missing, a feeling I think a lot of us can still relate to today. So where does this journey even begin? Well, it starts with a young Augustine in the city of Carthage. You have to imagine this place, just buzzing with ambition and desire, and he's right in the middle of it, searching for something he can't even put a name to yet. And you gotta love how he describes it. He says he was in a cauldron of unholy loves. I mean, what a phrase. He wasn't just chasing after things. He was in love with the idea of being in love. It was this chaotic mix of wanting to be successful, wanting to satisfy his desires, but underneath it all, he felt this deep spiritual hunger. So, to help us understand his state of mind, Augustine does something kind of brilliant. He doesn't focus on some huge, dramatic sin. Nope. He zooms way in on this seemingly tiny event from when he was a kid, stealing some pears from a neighbor's yard. And he asks himself this really pointed question. What did I actually love about that? I mean, think about it. He and his friends, they weren't poor, they weren't hungry. In fact, the pears weren't even any good. They ended up just tossing them to the pigs. So why do it? His conclusion is, well, it's pretty startling. He realizes he didn't love the pears at all. He loved the sin itself. He loved doing wrong, just for the sake of doing wrong. The thrill of breaking a rule simply because it was a rule. It was, as he says, an act of being gratuitously evil. But then he digs a little deeper and finds this whole social angle to it. He's totally honest and says, look, I never would have done this by myself. The real kick wasn't the fruit, it was the shared of friends. The act was fueled by the group. It was that feeling where, as he so perfectly puts it, we are ashamed not to be shameless. So, this whole deep dive into his own darker side, it naturally leads him to one of the biggest questions in all of philosophy. If God is all good, then where in the world does evil come from? And for Augustine, this wasn't just a casual question. It was a huge intellectual roadblock. And for about 9 years, he thought he found the answer in a philosophy called Manichaeism. It offered a pretty dramatic but simple solution. It said that good and evil were basically two separate physical forces, like a kingdom of light and a kingdom of darkness, and they were just locked in this eternal cosmic war. But eventually, he starts picking at this idea, and it just doesn't hold up. If evil is a thing, a substance that can attack and harm God, that means God can be corrupted. And for Augustine, that was just impossible. This led him to a completely revolutionary breakthrough. Evil isn't a thing. It's not a substance. It's a privation. It's a lack of good, a hole, a turning away from what's real and good. He realized that to truly solve this problem of evil, he had to go way deeper. He had to completely rethink what God even is. He needed a whole new definition for the divine. And his big aha moment comes from setting up a few key contrasts. He starts defining God not by what he is in physical terms we can understand, but by what he is not when compared to our world. So let's break down 3 of the big ones. Okay, first step, time versus eternity. For us, right, time is this constant flow. The past is gone, the future isn't here yet. But Augustine's argument is that God created time, so he has to exist outside of it. For God, everything is a single, permanent, unchanging today. All right, next, creation versus the creator. This is a huge one. He says everything that's been created, from a star to a soul, is by its very nature changeable. It can shift and decay. But God, the creator, he's the total opposite. He is unchangeable, incorruptible, the solid ground beneath everything else. And all of this leads to his final, absolutely game-changing insight. If a good God created everything, then everything he created must be, at its core, good. So where does evil come from? It comes from a will, like ours, that gets twisted. It's when we choose to love a lesser created good more than the highest ultimate good, which is God. It's really just a disordering of our love.
So you can almost hear the click as all these huge intellectual pieces finally fall into place for him. He had finally built the philosophical and spiritual anchor that his restless heart had been searching for his entire life.
And with that, his whole picture of God changes. He's not some thing out there, not a physical entity. No, God is being itself, the ultimate unchanging reality that everything else comes from. God is the good. And evil? It has no real existence of its own. It's just a movement away from him, a step toward nothing. So think about it. That restless heart he started with? Check. His weird fascination with why he sinned? Check. The giant philosophical problem of evil that stumped him for years? Check. All of it finally made sense through this new, profound understanding of God. And just like that, we're right back where we started. The whole journey comes full circle. He finally gets it. He finally understands what that restlessness was all about. It was a longing for the one and only thing in the universe that doesn't change, that doesn't fade, but doesn't disappoint: God himself. And that right there is why this story still hits home after almost 1,700 years. It holds up a mirror and forces us to ask the same kinds of questions. What's the source of our restlessness? And in a world that is always changing, where do we even begin to look for something that's true and that will last?